Welcome back to OC February, the segment that I'm running basically the entire month of February where I just talk only about OCs. So in this video I kind of wanted to talk about something that I've grazed on my other OC activity videos, but I wanted to dedicate a video just to this topic. And of course, if you clicked on the video, it's writing related activities. And I feel like the writing aspect of character creation is just so undiscussed and underutilized. Not really in, the writing sense, or just mainly authors, because I'm sure actual people who are more on the writer's side write a lot. I'm talking more about people who only really focus on drawing their OCs. If you draw your OCs a lot or are just burnt out from drawing them, this is a really good alternative option, and the really nice thing about it is it's really easily accessible. And of course, I love writing. It's my second most favorite thing to do with my OCs besides just draw or do another crazy craft that I do on a whim. So yeah, here's a bunch of really cool writing related things to do with your OCs, which is really just how many things could I pull from my creative writing class that I liked and just started doing for my OCs. So our first one is one that I think I have to explain a little bit. If it wasn't obvious, this one came from my creative writing class and I just love it to bits. I've started on one of these and oh my gosh, I've had so much fun writing it that I have another two that I've already done and just started. And those are one acts. And I think I have to explain what a one act is, but these are technically, screenplays, right? That only consist of essentially one act. So it's not exactly a really, really long performance, I guess. These can be especially short, or maybe if you're feeling really, really ambitious, you can make it also really long. But it's not the same as an actual fully fledged multiple act play, because again, it is consolidated into one act. So it's a lot shorter to write necessarily, and it doesn't involve a lot of scene changes. But it's really fun to do just one-offs with your characters in this format. If you're good with script writing, this is probably one of the really cool things I found out about. So yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. And of course, I'll probably link a couple things that kind of explain what a one act is better, because I just think they're really cool. So yeah. This next one I think is a basis of all of my character things ever. And it's one of the first things that I do when I'm developing a character. And I started doing it when I want to say I was 12? But these are very simple to do. You can just open a document, and of course that's character outlines. These can be as descriptive or non-descriptive as you'd like. It can be rudimentary and then you build up upon it. Usually I have documents where it's just a bunch of characters listed. I've already talked about foretelling being a really great place to store all of your OC stuff, but I know there's a couple other websites that people have tended to use. But you can also just use a Google Doc, and I'll look back at a couple of my documents and their outlines and then expand upon those. So they're just a really nice resource to get in the habit of doing. And it's also great for consistency's sake, in case you really need to look back and just double check things. It's really fun to have one that you just constantly update and see how that changes. But I think it's something that I would recommend getting in the habit of doing, I guess, for your characters, because it's fun and it's not necessarily difficult. This next one I haven't been doing a lot of recently, but I used to do it a lot. I was dedicated, I want to say a year or two ago. And of course this is lore book, and by that I mean I wrote everything down essentially on Google Docs, and then I would get a notebook, I guess, or just a book that I was not using, that was empty, and I started writing in my OC language thing that I got going on, and it's just so cool. And I haven't done a lot of it recently, but it looks especially cool. You get to show it to people and go, yeah, this is my OC stuff, and I can read it. It's fun. That can also just be, you know, a book just consisting of all of the lore. It really just depends on what type of OC related world you have, because I think this is especially just cool for fantasy fiction. Generally, this is a really cool thing to do. And I'll probably show a couple like videos of just the pages that I've accumulated over time of just this thing. And yeah, I think it's really neat, and I have to get back in the habit of doing it. This is a little bit ambitious, especially if you're not really used to writing in your OC language or whatever, or your cipher. It's really not a language, it's a cipher. Very basic, but you can be as complex with it as you'd like. I just think they're a cool thing to have. That's really on the basis for this one. This next one is a more short version of the lore handbook, and this is technically just like a footnote guide, I guess, to characters. And of course, I mean by that, like, just a small book consisting of everything that you'll need to know about your characters. And I carry mine around with me everywhere, just in case I ever get the opportunity to yap to somebody in full about my characters, so that way I have an easily accessible footnote for me to explain everything, because my OC world is very messy, it's very convoluted, and difficult to describe. So that's kind of why I have this mini handbook. It's also nice for just like traveling purposes, because then you can bring it wherever you need to. And this is also what I use specifically for my yapping workshop videos when I'm describing a little bit more about my OC world. I'm usually consulting my handbook just so that way I'm making sure that everything's in order and it's easier for me to explain that way. So yeah, I just think like having a smaller handbook and then a bigger handbook is really cool. I don't think it's really difficult, more or less. It's really just like jotting everything down in a digestible manner for both yourself and for future reference. So it's more like a travel-size version of your character outline, if that makes sense. So I talked about dialogue a little bit in my last video, but obviously I feel like sometimes writing dialogue can be a little bit difficult, especially if you're a newer writer, I guess. So this can be like a 50-50 thing, but I think this is an extension of what I talked about, but just dialogue one-liners. And by that I mean just writing a line about what your character would say dialogue-wise, and then saving that. I have a Google Doc just compiled of a bunch of one-liner things that I have for my characters that I want to incorporate if I ever do anything with them at some point. And I just think these are really fun. Of course, you can kind of like pull these from incorrect quotes too, I think, in some cases. But, you know, it's just kind of a nice thing to have on hand in case, you know, you ever want to do something with those. And also just writing down those ideas for later usage in case, you know, you're not really in the space to really write a lot. These are nice, and I think it makes it a little bit easier just for inspiration's sake. Yeah, this one's a little bit simple because I feel like even dialogue can be difficult to write, especially if it's like a long string of them. So just focusing only on little bits that a character would say, and then maybe expanding on that later, maybe figuring out how or when this character would say it, what led to them saying it. I don't know. I think it just makes an easier transition into writing something bigger. Half of this is just like things I think would be cool just to have and for more people to do. I used to do this one, again, a lot, especially over quarantine when I was just out of my mind. And this is like alternate universe rewrites of your characters, because I feel like it's really fun to reimagine what your character would look like in different circumstances and situations, and how that would affect their character. Would it affect their character? If things went differently, what could their future have looked like? These are so fun to explore. And they don't even have to be alternate history sort of alternate universes. They can also just be your classic trope universes. And by that I mean, high school AUs, school AUs, tattoo and flower shop AUs, barista AUs. There's just a lot of different options when it comes to OC, alternate universes. Obviously, this is already done for fandoms and are done in excess. But, if you're ever feeling up to it and I guess want to explore the different options, these are really, really fun to do. And they don't have to be especially long. I think just even reimagining it so that way you can draw it later. I don't know. I think this also really helps with characterization and, as I've said before, figuring out your characters and how the world and the environment changes the way they think, maybe. I don't know. And also, technically, it's a canon alternate universe. Well, not really canon. It's non-canon, but, you're the creator. You do with it what you like. And this last one is technically a really cool resource. And I just wanted to talk about it because I think it's just so awesome. And the person who made this is just really, really talented. And this is a character Wikipedia Google document, and these were made by, pardon me if I mispronounce the username here, but it's Rukidut? Okay, I'm just gonna go with Rukidut on Twitter, and basically, this person made a really, really one-to-one copy of what a Wikipedia page would look like, and made it a template shareable to basically everyone. And I just want to say it's so cool. And I don't know, I think it's really fun to just make things regarding character outlines. So for this to be an accessible option is just awesome. And again, props to them for making this. I've tried it out a little bit and it's just a ton of fun. And I think I'll have both their Twitter user and the actual document itself in the description just for you to try out. But I don't know, I think it's just fun to have your own little version of a wiki for your character, and I think this is a creative way to do character outlines. And with that, I think we wrapped up basically all of the ideas I have for today. And of course, if you have anything that you love to do with your OCs writing-wise, I'd love to hear them. And, I don't know, discuss about your characters and comment what type of alternate universes or alternate histories you would write for your characters. That's all.